The Ravens defense is stacked, but they're hiding a secret weapon. Nate Wiggins, the second-year man out of Clemson, is about to explode in 2025, and today's film breakdown, we prove why. Ryan, the Baltimore Ravens appear to have the best secondary in the NFL right now after they signed Jair Alexander, but we need to talk about the real secret underlying reason why this secondary could go from being the best to maybe even one of the greatest we've seen because of all the athletes they have. And it starts with one guy, Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins has the potential to have a huge year this upcoming season after he had very underrated, promising rookie year in the NFL. What do you want to see from Nate Wiggins from last year to this year, potentially building off of that great rookie season?
Yeah, I think he's the X factor in that secondary. Obviously, there's more known commodities, but I do think that Nate Wiggins is the young guy that could be very good, it could be average, and there's kind of levels to it. But for him to take a step forward, Joe, it was always, when he was at Clemson, he was such a gifted cover man, right? Like he had good fluidity. He's got really good long speed. He, from a coverage perspective, had everything that you wanted. The big thing was get stronger, more physical, more dominant just on the perimeter against screens. Like his overall play strength needed to take a step forward. If it did, then he had all the upside in the world, and you're starting to see that actualize a little bit early in his career, but there was a lot of room to still tap into.
For this film breakdown, as I watched through all the targets that he had on film, he does still need to improve as a tackler, and I think that now that you have that first real NFL offseason, we could see if he focused on that, bulking up, adding weight to his frame, as you just talked about. But there were a lot of elite pieces supported by stats. Only 2.2 yards of average separation on targets, 3.5 yards after receptions allowed, and then a 47.8 catch percentage allowed. Those are great numbers for a rookie, for a guy that wasn't a fully baked corner prospect that went where he did at the end of the first round. There's a real chance that at the end of the season, that we're talking about Nate Wiggins is one of the best corners in the NFL because he's got a great supporting cast that allows him to lean on his traits. Let's dig in the film. We've got 3 plays that show why he has so much potential.
You're going to see Mr. Wiggins on the bottom of the screen working in a little bit of a cover 2 look here. And Joe, I mean, you see it, right? Like generally speaking, the Browns are trying to make Nate Wiggins guess wrong. They have the slant routes from Jerry Jeudy going across his face. They're hoping that he bites on that and leaves the flat wide open, but he reads it perfectly and is able to jump the route, shows great anticipation, great spacing understanding, and able to finish the play in the end zone for a pick 6.
The biggest part with me that why Nate Wiggins was so promising as a prospect and why a play like this makes me think, oh, this guy with all the athletes behind him and around him, why he can take this big step. He has the length for him to cover effectively a ton of space around him, 2 different receivers. And once the ball's in the air, he just has to extend himself, pick up speed, burst upfield, and it turns into a touchdown. Now, this isn't something that you're going to have happen every single play. This isn't a routine situation, but this really is a tough play to make. You have to be 6'2" and run in the 4.3s to be able to come away with a play like this. Smaller corners that are less instinctive are going to let this ball go by. Maybe it goes out of bounds. Maybe they just end up deflecting it. But Nate Wiggins can make plays like this, and I think a lot of quarterbacks are going to think twice about targeting him if he can continue to disrupt in this manner.
He's also a taller corner too, right? Which usually means you got high hips and maybe the change of direction isn't great. But the change of direction skills for a guy that's over 6 foot is really good as well. And that ability to redirect and finish the play is phenomenal. The reason that his athleticism is so important, Joe, even in smaller windows, is because he's able to close ground in a hurry. You see on this play, Malik Nabers, the New York Giants, actually has a pretty nice release on the fade route and has a slight bit of separation. But the ability that Wiggins has here to not only close that gap, but not be so over aggressive to interfere with Nabers in the end zone, that showcases a guy that is very confident and comfortable with the athleticism that he brings to the table, and a guy that isn't going to panic when the football is in the air.
So we have a pretty good range of plays to show here, and I'm glad that we were able to find a strong red zone play by him. Nate Wiggins might have given up a little bit of upfield progression to Nabers at this spot where he's able to kind of get towards that that landmark on his route where he's trying to get to the corner of the end zone, get to the sideline to go up and extend and make this play. But where Wiggins and why we were excited about him as a draft prospect was the length. Here on this situation, he's not flashing that 4.3 speed because there's no ground for him to cover. It is a very tight 4 or 5 yard window to the back of the end zone. But because he understands the ball is up in the air, he's not contacting Malik Neighbors. He's getting his arms up. He's using that height to his advantage, and he's able to keep that thing from being completed.
And the next progression on this play now is to be a little bit more consistent at the line of scrimmage, and then you have the opportunity to potentially locate the football in the air, and this might end up being not only a pass breakup, but maybe an interception if you get your head turned around. That is the next step for Nate Wiggins in 2025. Even though Nate Wiggins is a guy that I do think could be a really successful player in man, we're showing a lot of zone clips because I think the spatial awareness and just the understanding of what's developing in front of him is really good for a younger player. Carries the outside play vertically, but he quickly dissects that they're trying to hit Pat Freiermuth on a quick little out route for the first down. Not only does he come downhill and redirect well, he's able to corral him and make the tackle before Freiermuth is able to get to his landmark and get a first down on this play. Good redirection, good understanding of spacing, good anticipation, and ultimately stops him for a minimal gain on the out.
I think the biggest part that was such a pleasant surprise when I was watching Nate Wiggins was that his instincts were great for a rookie. It requires an understanding, spatial awareness, just the ability to feel what's happening around you, and then to sense where the ball's going in these zone drops. When he's covering this portion of the field, he needs to be able to think quickly and to react. He can't hesitate. Otherwise, he could end up trying to have to tackle Pat Freiermuth with a full head of steam. But because he tacks downfield, he uses the burst that he has and the long speed that he has. He's able to put his head on his hip. He's able to drive him back a little bit. This is what we talk about, though, where he does need to get stronger. He does need to be a better tackler. You can't just throw your shoulder into a tight end and not fully wrap up. But the way that he's able to knock him back allows for his teammates to corral and to end up making a play to shut things down. Folks, comment below, how many interceptions do you think that Nate Wiggins can get this upcoming season? Hit that like button and subscribe. We'll talk to you later. We did it, Ryan.